lot of different types of group programs. I've run a lot of different types of group programs, and it's been quite a learning curve. The first one I started was probably in about 2019. I qualified as a coach in 2017. I did what a lot of coaches do and work with one-on-one clients. And then I realized that I wanted to reach more people. I wanted to do more, I wanted to bring communities and people together. And since then, I've tried a lot of different types, and I currently have a Thrive program, which I absolutely love. That's what Pam is in. But one of the things that really blew up for me in my coaching, in my group coaching experience, is something that I'm going to share on the slides with you today. So let me put my glasses on. I'm going to share my screen. If you've got any questions, you want to ask anything, you want me to stop as we go, just stick your hand up, use the hand raise reaction thing in the bottom, or just type it in the chat box and I can loop back on any questions you have. So let me bring up my thing behind, and then I'll share my screen and we will dive in. Share screen. Okay. Here we go. Can you see that? Yes, great. Now, I'm not going to do the thing where in Canva you go to present into presenter mode, because whenever I do that, it pauses my screen, and I don't know why Canva has a glitch. You may have seen that glitch yourself. So I'm going to keep it like this. So this is your group program in 45 minutes. And really, this is what I want to share. So how to create it in 45 minutes. And so you can scale to consistent 5-figure months, even if you're maxed out with one-on-one clients and have no time, because that's what a group program will enable you to do, is really leverage your revenue as a coach and your time. You're not trading your time for money. You're getting in front of more people. And the biggest reason I find and I see why people don't get a group program created is because they're maxed out with one-on-one clients. So they are too busy to take a step back and create a program, but also often they think that their clients are not going to get as good an experience in a group program as they would working one-on-one. I would love to know as well, do any of you think that? Is that a kind of feeling you have right now, is that actually it's better to work one-on-one with clients better than in a group? And it's an interesting thought, and it's something that does come up a lot in the work that I do with my clients. I don't think that is the case. I think that clients get a lot more from working in a group. And actually what I love to do is create hybrid programs where you can do a combination of both. If you think about what you can bring into a group program that you can't bring into a one-on-one experience, there's an order of magnitude difference. So if you're thinking, oh, I really like working one-on-one, I don't think my clients would want to be in a group program, then there's a way for you to mesh both of those things together. It might be that you're already running group programs really successfully as well. So if you are, like, I'm not here to, what's the phrase? I'm teaching your granny to suck eggs. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to shine a light on some more ideas, things that you could bring in that you might not already be doing. So what I'm going to share with you as well is how one small pivot can allow you to make a lot more money if that feels good and exciting for you, without any more hours delivering coaching. So this is actually how one small pivot over and above already working in a group will do this. But the thing that drives me above anything else in the work that I do, in the programs that I develop, is how to create an incredible experience for your clients so they see your group program as the superior option, and they would happily pay a premium to be part of that. For me, when you master client retention, you'll never need as many new clients as you think. And I just feel that's so powerful. A lot of people get really hung up in driving leads into their business. I think that's important. Of course it is. We have to have a lead generation strategy that brings leads into our business. But actually what I'm much more passionate about is when you have those leads, how can you keep them around for long periods so that you are always providing them with their next step, and it's the lifetime value of the customer rather than kind of in and out. That's what I get a lot of, is the client relationships. And actually, Pam, what you said at the beginning of already booking for the second year, this is exactly the point I'm making. is the client experience is the thing that will make the biggest difference to your group coaching program. So there's a lot that I'm going to share with you, and I think that there's something as well. There's a word that is really nice, and it's how can you create a profitable addiction for your clients? So it's profitable in many different ways. It doesn't have to be just money, of course. Like our lives are enriched. You help your clients in many, many different ways. I help my clients to make money, not just make money though. I help them to lead a completely fulfilling life that gives them the choices they want. Really think about the role that you have for your clients. There's probably a really wide array of different types of coaches in this room. So what I would love you to think of is, what is the version for you that is a profitable addiction for your clients? And creating a group program is one of the easiest, most fun, and most profitable things you can do in your business without any shadow of a doubt. But let's just talk about what is really important and what we're going to do today. So when I think of a group program, there's really three key parts to this, and we're not going to do all of these parts today because this is like a whole group program on its own. What I want to do is like summarize some of this for you. There are three things to think about. There's creating it, and that's what we're going to look at today in some detail. That's why it's underlined. It's the build. There's also the launching of it, and there's the delivery of it. So how will you actually deliver it? We're going to talk about that today. We're not going to talk about how you launch it today because that's massive. But I would really invite you to consider the launch. The launch is really important because I've worked with a lot of clients who've come to me, they've created a group program, they've put it out there, they've hardly had any people join. And that's because they haven't considered the launch. The launch and how you sell it is just as important as what goes into it and how you create it. And of course, I'm going to say that because I'm a business coach, and what I'm passionate about helping great coaches to do is to make money from their amazing coaching. The reason I've done the yellow triangle in the middle there is this is the promise. There has to be a promise for people to buy. There has to be a promise. Why would people come and buy your group coaching program? Now, don't worry if you're saying to yourself right now, well, I can't promise anything because the work is on them, not me. I'm a coach. I ask questions. I help people to find the answers themselves. There still has to be a promise. There has to be something tangible that will get people buying from you, whether it's your one-on-one or your group program. So what is that promise? You're not promising people a result. You're promising people the coaching, the support, maybe the guidance, depending on what kind of work that you're doing, but you're promising them the path towards a result, and it's that result that you have to sell to them. You're not promising them the result, but you're promising them the ability to achieve that result through working with you. And the reason I'm emphasizing that is because it's really important. So let's look at your design part. So the design, the build part here. We talked about the promise, and we're going to look at the delivery because there's two elements that you have to consider when you're designing your group program. Now, one of my favorite things to help people to do, and I'm going to touch on this today with you, because if you can do this, if you can go and make this happen, if you don't already have one in place, then you're going to have a massive head start with this. But it's essentially the concept of having a signature framework. Now, funnily enough, I can give you a great example here. My book, The 9-Step Framework to Building a Thriving Coaching or Online Business. And the reason that's important is because you have to give people the ability to move from where they are, point A, to point B, which is where they want to get to. They are A, you want to get them to B, or you want to help them get themselves to B. And your coaching is the bridge. It's this. A to B on the path of least resistance. So this is where they are. This is where they want to get to. And your coaching is the bridge that spans both of those things. Now, it doesn't matter what kind of coach you are. You could be a career coach or a life coach or a business coach or a health coach or a relationship coach. You just got to really think about where they are and where they want to get to. And what I love to help people to do is to turn that bridge into a signature framework. So your signature framework is your unique proposition on how you help move people from A to B. So when we go back to this, the framework is the promise. I'm gonna help you go through these series of steps so that you move from here to here. Now, the promise sits within that framework. The signature framework is a vitally important part of building a remarkable coaching business. Let me just spend a couple of minutes to tell you why. Number one, it gives you enormous clarity on how you help people. A lot of people come to me and they say, well, I don't know what kind of coaching I do. I don't know how to articulate how I really help people. I'm not clear on my messaging. I don't have clarity on my niche. I could help these people, but I could help these people as well. Let me know, by the way, if this is true for any of you, because these are the things that come up a lot for coaches at every step of the coaching business journey, not just people at the early stages. So when you have a signature framework, it gives you enormous clarity on how you help people, because you map it out and you're like, I can see the path that I take people through, even if you're pure coaching. Now, this is, well, actually, I'm gonna just rewind a second. So not only the clarity, but what it also does is it enables you to become known for something. So what are you known for? We have to be known for something as a coach. You want people to recommend your coaching. You want people to say, oh, yes, you need to speak to Pam Rigdon. She's the coach that helps people to what? And this is why a signature framework will help you build your credibility really, really fast. The signature framework is essentially what you use to build your group coaching program. So let's look at that bridge again. Well, what is that bridge? That bridge you can easily come up with pretty quickly. And my invitation to you now is to think about the work that you do and to think about, well, who are the people that you're coaching and what are the things that you're helping them to do? How can you start to pull out the common topics that come up? So even if you have one-on-one clients, even if you've only ever worked with one-on-one clients, let's say I'm your one-on-one client and you're helping me to achieve result B and I'm in position A at the moment. And we have 6 coaching sessions together. What are we going to be doing on the first session? What are we going to be doing on the second? What are we going to be doing on the third? What I'm inviting you to think about is how you can turn the steps into specific topics or themes, even if you are pure coaching. You're not putting in, you're drawing out. Okay, on this week's session, we're going to talk about this. And on the next session, we're going to talk about that. So here's an example. If you're a life coach and you help midlife women to, I don't know, reconnect with their purpose and have more energy. We all need a bit more of that right now. Maybe not reconnecting with my purpose, but more energy sometimes. I'm going to come and work with you. And we're going to have 6 coaching sessions together. What is the very first thing that we're going to do together? Well, it might be that we set some goals. Yeah, it's a big thing amongst coaches. Okay, what do you want to achieve and why? Like, what is the bigger picture behind this? What's driving you to want to, work with me? Let's create some goals and start to map that out throughout our coaching journey. Next time, the session might be, let's work on your mindset. The session after that might be, let's work on your habits. And then it could be, let's work on your fitness. Let's work on your nutrition and your diet. Can you see where I'm going with this? Whatever kind of coach you are, if you create very specific stepping stones to people, it makes it much easier for you to sell your coaching because it's tangible. This has been one of the biggest game changers for me in my business, honestly. You can do this if you are mentoring, which is what I'm doing, but you can do it if you're coaching as well, because you can say, okay, I'm a health coach that helps women to achieve this. You have to have a niche. This is about having a niche. And these are the specific topics within this coaching that I'm passionate about helping women to achieve. So that's your signature framework. Obviously, that's it in a nutshell. I can do a whole a whole presentation, probably a whole group coaching program on creating a signature framework, but I just wanted to introduce this to you today because it's a part of your group program, because you've got to know what it is that you're designing and how you're designing it. So remember, the outcome is the promise. Come and work with me in my group coaching program, and over a period of 12 weeks or 6 weeks or 6 months, we're going to go from here to here. So vital, because without this triangle in the middle, it's really, really hard to sell it. And you can't build a group program and put all of that work and effort into it if no one wants to buy it. This is what people want to buy. If we go back to this, the bridge that you create here, the steps in your signature framework, well, that's for you. Ultimately, the thing that people want to buy is the outcome. So you don't sell the bridge. You talk about the bridge, of course, but what you sell is the outcome. The outcome is point B. We already touched on this. If you're saying, I can't promise this, you're not making a guarantee. What you're saying is, this is what we're going to work towards. Obviously, the onus is on our clients to take action and create results for themselves. We're the facilitators, we're the coaches, we are the people, the guides, depending on how you're working. I'm going to just pause for a minute, and then we're going to move on to something which I think makes this absolutely wonderful. And when you do this, it really steps it up a level. But I just want to check in with you. Who is already getting something from this? Who's got some ideas already on what you can weave into your group coaching program, or what you can even weave into your one-on-one coaching? Because there's elements of that can span and cover both things. So just type in the chat box what is standing out and what is helping you here, because it's incredibly useful for me to see the things that are helping people when I do things like this. So what I would love you to think about is, okay, if you've created a signature framework, which is the bridge, well, how amazing is it when you give it a name and a tagline and turn it into a graphic? So here's a few examples. It could just be Excel, the 12-week program that helps university graduates get their first paid role in the private sector. You can see how that steps it on. It's like, wow, okay, we're turning this into something really tangible. It could be Sparkle, the 90-day intensive that supports women to lose weight without having to count calories or exercise every day. It's becoming more real when we give it names. And then, I mean, there was even another one here. I give you 3 examples, but think about how you can give yours a name and a strapline like this. But what I love more than anything is turning it into a graphic that you can share. A graphic that you can share, that you can put on your socials, that you can put on your website. You can go into Canva and create a graphic really, really easily from doing this. So, you know, this one at the bottom can have 6 arrows. You could have 9 steps in your signature framework, whatever works for you. But this is about getting your ideas out of your head and putting it into a graphic, because we know that a picture speaks 1,000 words. So the words on its own are great, but when you put in a graphic as well as the words, then people can really see what it can do for them. So we've done a little bit of a whistle-stop tour of creating a framework. We've got to drop the framework into your program design. Now I'm going to take you through a series of slides where there's quite a lot of information here. We're not going to spend too long on this, but these are really parameters which you can ask yourself when you're creating your group program, how you want it to be. There's so many different ways you can format and structure your group program. So this is what I want to share with you now. And I can share these slides with Pam, or you can take a screenshot of these questions as we go. Here's some thoughts. Question number 1, how long do you want your group program to be? Do you want it to be weeks, or do you want it to be months? And as I say, I'm going to go through this really quickly. There's quite a lot of information here. So just pull out the bits that are relevant for you right now, and certainly don't get overwhelmed with all of this stuff. But if you want to dive into all of this, you absolutely can. So the first thing is duration. How long do you want it to be? And also then the second question is model. Do you want it exclusively group, or do you want it one-on-one or something in between? Now we're talking about group programs today. The reason I put that on there is because some of my best group programs, the ones that I've charged a higher amount of money for, have been where they've been hybrid model, a mix of group and one-on-one, and that works absolutely brilliantly. And also think about the size. Do you want to create a big group program with loads of people in it? Or do you prefer working with a smaller number of people? Do you just want to have 6 people in your group program as opposed to 25? These are really great questions to ask yourself before you create it. Next, how do you want to deliver it? Well, are you going to show up live and host group coaching sessions? Or are you going to send your clients on a journey where you've recorded some videos? You're going to invite them to watch those recorded videos, and then they come to the session and maybe ask questions. That's a thought as well. And do you want to do it online, on Zoom? Or is this something that you might do in person? Or an element of both? There's some great things you can do where maybe you build out a 6-month program and one of the sessions is where you all get together. That's a wonderful thing to be able to do. Are you going to have calls, or are you going to build assets? I guess that's a little bit like, are you going to create recorded videos so you can deliver your content, your coaching through recorded videos? But what you can also do is create assets for people. What I mean is workbooks, checklists, templates, PDFs. So you can start to build an asset library that goes with your coaching program, which is really, really great thing to do as well. Because what that will do is it will build the value and enable you to ultimately make more money from it. How much access are you going to give people to you? Do they have any access? Maybe they don't. Maybe it's just a group program and that, okay, we're going to deliver this as a group. There's no one-on-one element. Or maybe you're going to give some people a high-touch experience where they can reach out to you, they can have contact with you, they can ask you questions outside of the group program. And is it going to be self-led, where you're going to put the accountability on your clients? Okay, these are your action steps. This is what you've said you're going to do. I would love you to check in on the next session. You're going to hold them accountable. Are you going to invite them to share their action steps, share their wins, share the things that they're doing? And with regards to community, is it just on the calls? Is your group code program just going to be based on Zoom and maybe with the resources that we talked about? Or do you want to build a community around it? So do you want people to be able to connect with people in a Facebook group, for example? That's a great thing to consider also. And let's first to say enrolling. Is it closed or open? So what I mean by that is, are you going to start with a group of people? And is it closed as in once that group is defined, that's the door's closed and you're going to go through the weeks or months with those people? Or is it an open enrollment model where you start and people can join and they join the program and it's rolling enrollment? This is one of the things that I want to share with you in just a second when I talked about the pivot earlier. Are you going to just do the calls and get people to set their action steps and they're going to go off and do it? Or is there going to be defined homework? And is there a check-in with them in between if there is defined homework? And with the dashboard, if you're creating a dashboard, is this just for today while people are in it? Or are you going to enable them to keep that afterwards, keep access to it afterwards? Because if you do, then maybe you can charge a higher amount of money, or maybe that could be a bonus. With my Thrive program, what I've done in the past is said to people, come and join Thrive and you can have forever access to the dashboard, even when you've finished in the group program. So there's loads of really cool things you can think about in building your program. Remember what I said about the launching it and the actual selling it is really, it's pivotal here. It's really important because there's no point putting all of this work into having a group program if you can't get the numbers you want. Payment type. Is it pay in full or is it monthly recurring revenue? There's benefits for both. Pay in full brings the cash into your business. Monthly recurring revenue helps to build your revenue every single month. I personally love both. And what about wanting a break? Sometimes people say to me, oh gosh, I don't want to run a group program for that long because what if I want to go on holiday? What if I want to take time off? I feel like I've got a ball and chain around my neck. And honestly, there's so many different things that you can do to mitigate that. Let me give you an example of what I do in Thrive. And I've done in many, many of my previous programs. The Thrive is an open enrollment rolling group program. People join week in, week out. And of course, I want to go on holiday. I want to have a summer holiday. I want to spend time with my children. So what we do in the summer, and I've done this with many of my programs before, is we host a summer takeover. We're actually, rather than me delivering the sessions in the summer, just 1 month, we did it in July. I invite all the Thrive members to take the sessions, and we built out a summit for July, a July summit, a July takeover. And that meant that I didn't deliver any of the sessions in July, but they all did it themselves and they loved it. It was amazing, the networking, the connection, the confidence building from doing that. So there's many, many different things you can do. If you want to have a break, you could just have a break as well. It could be a 6-month program or a 6-week program, but you could say, hey, I'm not going to be around next week, so we're going to press pause. You can catch up on all the stuff, and ultimately you're going to be in it for 7 weeks instead. So there's lots you can do. And one of my favorite things also is to bring in guest experts as well that complement the work that I do. So think about the work that you do. Who could you invite in to deliver a session as a guest expert? I guess much the same as I'm doing here for Pam. So who here has had some ideas on how you can build out your group program? Hopefully there's some things from the last few slides with all of the different parameters and formats that's making you think, okay, I'd like that and that and that. And you build it out according to how you want to run it. I did mention a pivot just a minute ago, and this is everything to do with having an open enrollment program. This is my favorite type of program. This is my favorite way to build a program. It never makes any sense for me to have a closed cohort program. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but what I'm saying is it makes no sense for this reason to me. So let's picture this scenario. You've got a program, let's say it's a 12-week program. You've done some marketing, you've got some people in the program. Say you wanted to have 10 people, you've got 7 people, that's okay, it's enough to start with. You haven't made quite as much money off the back of it because you didn't get the 10 people, but it's okay. And what you're planning to do is do the 12 weeks and maybe have a little break and then do the 12 weeks again. So it's closed cohort. 10 people, 7 people start, and you're with those 7 people for the next 12 weeks. So what about the person who sends you an email a week after it started and says, hey, I would love to come and join your group program. I saw it a couple of weeks ago. I'm ready to jump in. It's perfect. It's exactly what I need. What do you say to that person if it's already started? Do you say to them, oh, you're going to have to wait for 12 weeks because we've just got started. I'm sorry. I mean, that just doesn't make any business sense, because you know what will happen is that person will go and find someone else to support them instead, because they're probably not going to want to wait for 12 weeks because they need help now. So I feel like it just makes no sense from a business perspective to turn people away. So how much better is it to build a model where you're not turning people away, you're allowing people to drop in? So there's a few ways you can do that. So people always say to me, oh, but how would this work? Because if I'm going through this bridge and people are on week 2, how do more people, the way I've done it before, there's 2 main ways. The way I've done it before is people just drop into the week that you're on, and that week cycles. So of course, at the start, you're going to do weeks 1 through to 12, maybe. But if someone joins when you're on week 2, they drop into week 2 and they do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. And they just, because the way you can structure it and position it and sell it is that, look, it doesn't matter what step we're on. All of this is important. This isn't linear. What's important is you do all of these steps. So even when I've done this in business building, it's like, let's just drop in. We're on week 5. And then they pick up on weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the end, because business isn't linear. Everything is repetition. So I'd really invite you to think about that as well. What you might want to do if your first week is a goal setting session is have that as a one-on-one. So everyone does a one-on-one at the start, which is a goal setting session. Then they drop into your bridge. We're going to do nutrition. We're going to do mindset. We're going to do habits. We're going to do fitness if you're a life coach. And all of these things are important. So it doesn't matter which one you start with. So this is the important pivot that I want to share with you. And I find that not everyone does this. And I think people are massively leaving money on the table, because then you're turning people away and you're running a program that isn't at capacity. No one wants to run a program that isn't at capacity, because, well, that's eroding your bottom line as a coach. And if it's really not at capacity, so for example, if you wanted 10 and you got 7, but actually, what if you didn't get 7? What if you got 3? How are you going to feel about running a 12-week program with only 3 people in it? Might even be some resentment around that. So what I say is open enrollment. Drop people in all the time. And that takes the pressure away from you having to market it like massively at the start. You can just market it all the time. You can turn it into an evergreen marketing system in your business, where you're just talking about it all the time. Your call to action is, hey, if you'd like to chat about my group program, book a call. You know, what we're doing this week is we're working on people's mindsets. If you'd like to work towards this goal as well, this could be a great week for you to drop in. And that also, so this is a big pivot, is the open enrollment. And I feel like this is huge. But also there's a second part of this as well. Let me just move on. So essentially what we're saying, it's always open. There's a second part of this. And this is what happened with my 2020 mastermind, which was a form of group program. And this was the one that really took off for me in my business. I'd played around with a few different versions and a few different formats before then, but this was the one that went a bit bonkers. And it went bonkers for a couple of reasons. Number one, because I did open enrollment. But number two, this is what happened. It was a 12-week mastermind. I started it with 12 women, and I had some like business steps laid out week 1 right through to week 12. And it got to about week 9, and 3 of those women said to me, what happens next? And I was like, oh, crikey, I don't know. What happens next? And they were approaching the end, and they were already thinking about, well, actually, I don't want this to end, Karen. I'm really enjoying the weekly calls we're doing. I'm getting a lot from this. What next? And I thought to myself, well, it doesn't make sense to create a second offer off the back of this. And I said, well, do you fancy just going back through round again and doing another cycle of the 12 weeks? And they were like, yeah, this is brilliant. Because, of course, it was being delivered live. I was answering their questions. The questions that they were having on one week were different to the questions that they were having on another week. Where they were 12 weeks earlier in their business journey was different to where they were now. So the set of questions were different. The learnings and what they were taking from my material was different. And it was incredibly powerful. It was one of the biggest realizations I've ever had in my business. And so I invited everyone to do a second cycle. And like nearly everyone said yes to that. And I made it inviting for them, because I said, okay, well, how about if you do a second cycle, I'll include a one-on-one this time, because maybe you'd want to go a bit deeper on some of the things, some of the questions. And like almost everyone said yes to that. And I was like, well, this is great. And then what I did is I marketed it. I put the price up. So I had these original, like say 10 women continue again. And then I'd already got more people going in as we were going, and it grew, and it got to 20 people, and then it got to 25, and then it got to 30, and then 40, and then 50 people. And it was incredible. You can imagine what this did to my business. And this was what is really important that I want to share with you, is 72% of people did more than one cycle. I had over 100 people do it, individuals do it, and over 72% of those individuals did more than one cycle of my 12 weeks. So this is what I meant when I said, when you master client retention, you'll never need as many new clients as you think. Because if you create something that is incredibly supportive for people that they don't actually want to leave, then you just get to connect with these people for a long time to come. And I can't personally think of anything better than that. If you're about creating impact for people or helping people create impact for themselves and impactful life, then giving people the ability and the opportunity to do that in your group program is wonderful. So I had all of these amazing people that I worked with, and this ran for 2 years up until 2022, when I realized that I wanted to do something a little bit different. I was looking to work in a different way. This was quite a high investment. It was much more than what my Thrive program is. My Thrive program is much bigger and a lower investment. These people had some one-on-one access to me. It got to the point where it grew too big for me to actually give people one-on-one access. And at that point, I got into a point in my business where I was in that messy middle phase with, okay, I need to reimagine, rethink my business model now. And that's what I did at that point moving forwards. That's how I then scaled up from that. But this was incredibly successful. It didn't have to include one-on-one. I did, and of course, like then they they expected it. And obviously, when you've got 50 clients messaging you every day, it reaches a point where actually I can't continue to grow it with this particular business model. So that's the only reason I changed it. So there were 2 key things here that created this incredible group coaching success in my business. Number 1, that I made it open enrollment. People dropped in and I wasn't turning people away. And number 2, I mastered client retention and I gave people a reason to go back through. And it was amazing. So it was the experience that sold it. People didn't want to leave. So that's what I would love you to think about. You've got to build a group program. If you're building a group program, you've got to build it for them. This isn't for you, it's for them. And that's the most important thing to consider. So what I always do is I ask people, what can I bring in? What do you want? What guest experts shall I bring in? How can I help you more? I've had an idea for this. What do you think? And everything that I do in my programs is for my clients. I listen, we send feedback forms, we ask people all the time. And I think this is one of the biggest mistakes people make with a group program is they create what they think people want instead of what people really, really want. And when you get that bit right, then you never need as many new clients as you think, because you create an environment where people never want to leave. And I think that's one of the most wonderful things about the relationships that we build in the work that we do as coaches. It's the lifetime value of the clients you're working with, and it's constantly helping them grow and evolve to where they want to get to, because remember, they are growing and evolving as well. And if you can be one step ahead of them to help them on their journey, then there's no reason why they should want to leave the coaching program. I mean, of course, people will. This isn't about keeping in people against their will, but it's about being in tune with what they want rather than what you want. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to come back and answer any questions you have. My God, that's like bang on 45 minutes. I can't believe I got my timing dead on with that. I said at the beginning in 45 minutes and I wasn't actually looking at the clock. So that is good. I'd love to answer any questions you have. I'd love to know if this was useful for you, and I'd love to know what maybe the things are, like the 1 or 2 things that hopefully have stood out for you, that have been maybe a little shift in your mind on what you could do in your coaching business. Is anyone okay to share anything, or anyone okay to ask any questions? Go for it. Just stick your hand up and wave at me if there's anything I can help you with. Okay, I can see Tracy. Thanks for putting your hand up, Tracy. There's always that moment where like, oh, can someone please ask a question?
Oh, no, that's okay. I did put it in the chat, but I'm quite interested in the open, because I've thought about how you can introduce new people to I'm going to call mine a circle. When you've got a group that's already bonded,
Yeah.
Can that not damage it?
I don't think so.
No.
And I get asked this question a lot. Look, yeah, I'm not here to say, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. But I am here to share my experience of having worked with a lot of my own clients who've done this. lots of people have said to me, oh, my clients don't really want to work one-on-one. And that's why I'm a slave in my own business, because I've got too many one-on-one clients and I can't actually increase my revenue because there's no more time left in my diary. So it's almost like people think that their clients won't like one-on-one, and then they shift and they go, okay, actually, I was wrong. People love one-on-one. But the other thing is exactly what you said, Tracy, is if I've got a group that's really bonded, is it hard to bring people into that? And I see it differently. I see it like we're not talking about huge numbers. We're maybe talking about 6 or 8 or 12 or maybe 15 people. I see it as an opportunity for people to build more of a community, to make friends, make connections. And that's only what's happened in any of my programs. If you sell it that way and you position it that way, you say, look, you're going to get an incredible community experience out of this, because it is lonely.
It's all about the contracting, isn't it?
It is. It's just what you say to them. And you can use this in your sales and marketing for your program. You can say, look, one of the things I find a lot is that people are craving human connection. This is why I've built this program, because I want to bring people together who are on a similar journey. I think that it's the most wonderful thing in the world. I guess if you go into it thinking it's a bad thing, it will be a bad thing. But if you go into it thinking this is like, how can I connect people? How can I help people to support one another? Then I think it's absolutely wonderful. Tracy, did that help? Did that answer your question? Great.
Can I just say, as a member of Karen's program, I joined Thrive. It was in the summer, wasn't it, after my Canada trip? And it started in March. So I was a little bit nervous. I thought, oh gosh, these people are all going to know each other. And honestly, Tracy, I had never been made so welcome by Susie. All of the ladies who'd been in there before me were so friendly and so welcoming. And now I'd like to think that I've been there for a while, and you did another intake just recently, didn't you? That hopefully, at least in a little way, I've stepped into that role of making other people feel welcome.
You
and
have.
that has actually been the community and Karen's team who have done that. And Karen is there consistently for the calls every 2 weeks. So
you wouldn't necessarily let somebody in if you're doing like an 8-step program like you were talking about, or 9-step program. You wouldn't let them in until you'd gone through that full cycle. Is that what you're saying? Or you'd let them in
straight away, and they just drop into, if you were doing it as a cycle, like step 1, step 2, step 3. Thrive isn't like that, but the mastermind example I shared with you was. And so there was like 12 steps, and people would drop into step 2 or drop into step 6, and they would just like go round and finish off with steps 1 and 2 and 3 afterwards. And the way I talked about it was like, all of these things are important. It doesn't matter what order you go through them in. What matters,
you'll always pick up something new, won't you, from somebody else in the group? Yeah, okay, cool, got it.
It worked. Like it was perfect in every sense. Han, thank you for saying that. And it is true. It is true. Like people are craving friendship and connection and being around people who are in a similar journey to themselves. And we as coaches, one of the best things we can do is facilitate that for people. That's, I think, a big indicator of being able to create impact in people's lives, is not only impact from you, but secondary impact from the introductions and the connections that people make as a result of you. I feel like that's even more powerful, to be honest, because at some point they will stop working with you, but they might still have those friendships. In fact, I'm just going to share something really quick with you. And this is just the perfect example of this. In that 12-week mastermind from 2020, there were 3 coaches who became really good friends, like 3 women who'd never met each other before. And 2 years down the line, I'm not working with any of them still. I don't even have that program anymore. But they go on holiday every year as a threesome to a foreign country, and they tag me on their LinkedIn post and they say, we met. And I just think, I felt the hairs on my arms go up there. I just think, my God, like that is true impact. That's like actually creating a bit of a legacy in the work that we do. They're not even working with me anymore. They haven't paid me a penny for a couple of years. But they're friends, and that will never be taken away. And I just think, wow, why would I not want to do that? Like, if there was ever a reason to create a group program, that is it. Okay, I'm going to move to Fiona, and I'm going to move to Julie. Go for it, Fiona. How can I help you?
Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Thanks very much. I'm feeling, yeah, no, let me just go to my question. Did what you're, so Thrive is happening now, and you said that you do a live every 2 weeks, and presumably through your mastermind, you had recorded those, and then they are now recorded videos, which are part of your Thrive program, where people go through a kind of video thing, and then they have the lives as well, right? And I suppose what I'm kind of seeing is that you started doing this, and that evolved into this, and then that evolved into, so, you know, you kind of have to think about starting over here, right? It's for me is kind of what I'm thinking. Start with a 6-week or a 12-week or a, would that make sense as a,
Yeah, 100%. So Thrive and the first program mine are not connected. Nothing from what I did then is in Thrive in terms of the training. So there's resources and assets I've built throughout my business. I run Thrive differently to how I ran that mastermind. Would it be useful for me to share the 2 different ways that I ran it? Because I think that might be the answer to your question.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
So that first mastermind was, I've got 12 steps, like that signature framework, and I'm going to teach step 1 on week 1, step 2 on week 2, step 3 on week 3, and so on, like that. And then I'm going to go back to step 1, and I'm going to go back through. And people can join at any point and just have their 12 weeks from their starting point. That was live taught. I would show up on the Zoom calls, and I would deliver the session live, and that would be recorded, and that would be in the mastermind dashboard. And those people who were in that mastermind still have those live recorded sessions of the steps that I taught them each week. Of course, you just shape this for your business. I'm more of a mentor than a coach these days, but if you're a pure coach, you know, this is just going to be coaching. This is like, right, we're going to do group coaching today, and this is the topic for this call. Thrive is different to that. Thrive is not live delivery like that. Thrive is a dashboard full of resources. And what I do with the fortnightly calls in Thrive is people come with their questions based on the resources in the dashboard. Now, don't get me wrong, I do some mini trainings and things like that, but I'm not following a structured signature framework. The signature framework really has been built from, the resources have been built from the signature framework. So it's now more of a, right, who's got a question? What are you working on this week? And what can I answer for you on the call? So we do some kind of hot seat sessions and things.
Right. And you know, I suppose I'm trying to understand what a dashboard is. It's like a portal with all of your videos on it on different topics.
Workbooks, recording links, any assets and resources you create. Like you might have checklists for clients, you might have a PDF you've created, there might be workbooks, recording links, anything. You could just create a portal so that, I mean, this is another training about creating assets for your business so that your business is just not just about you, but it's got some physical asset to it as well. So that's all the dashboard is.
Yeah. I think my biggest problem, and it's always been the thing that has held me back, even as I thought, oh, group program, have more impact. And I suppose the starting point is I don't have a framework. I don't have a structured process that I go through with each client. It's kind of, okay, meet them where they are, and then it evolves, right? And it's co-created. And I find it really difficult in my own mind to think about how on earth that would work in a group setting. And you know, is it possible that there's just some things that don't work in a group setting, or is that me creating a limiting belief?
Well, I think you need to answer that question yourself. But what I would say is, much of what we do in business, we don't know the answer to, but we've got to test it and try it, because unless we test it and try it, we'll never know. And I think this is one of the most liberating things you can do in your business, is to go, oh, I've got an idea for a group program. Let's have a go and see if it works, and answer that question. So I can see you nodding.
I love that answer. Thank you very much. Yeah, to play with it, you know.
But what I want to say is the whole, be experimental. Like, you know, we don't know the answers to any of this. We've got to try it. I know the answers to, you know, what my clients have done, but I can't answer that for you. But what I do know is, I want to say 2 more quick things, and I will come then to Julie's question. One thing is that this is about having a niche, really. The answer to this question lies in, well, what is your niche? And if you are a coach without a niche, it's going to be virtually impossible. It's going to be impossible to create a group coaching program. We know from a business perspective that if you're a coach without a niche, it's harder to build a business. You might not be making the money you want, because the niche is what gives the focus. And the niche is what creates the desire for your future clients to want to come and work with you. So the answer to this question is, if you've got a niche, then you know who you help. And if you know who you help, well, you know what their number one challenge areas, frustrations, desires are. And if you know what their desires are, their point A and what their point B is, then you can create the signature framework. And if you've got the signature framework, you can build a program.
Yeah, I genuinely, I hear all that, and I have a niche, and they all come to me with different problems, and then we deal with actually the real problem, right? So they think this is their problem. Do you know what I mean? So I think I have a bit of work to do on that. So, but thanks very much, Karen.
Pleasure. And I know that it's sometimes really hard to move from one-on-one working with all the things that you work with your ideal clients to moving to a group program. The last thing I'm going to say on this is, it depends what kind of business you want, right? If you want a business that is specific, is focused, is really streamlined, sets you up as an expert in the coaching space on a particular thing that you help clients with, then that's going to make you more money than being a coach that can do anything and everything. I mean, because it's harder to market that. And so it's just, I'm not here to tell you what kind of business to build, but I am here to say that, like, if you wanted to do that, then this is absolutely possible for you. And loads and loads of coaches who are amazing coaches, who are pure coaches, have a very specific niche that they help people with. And when you do that, you can turn that into a program, a framework, because then you're bringing people in who are in exactly the same place. And when people are in exactly the same place, that's when it's wonderful that they're all on the same journey together. Like, if it's, let's use the midlife woman as an example, a midlife woman who is low on energy, lost her confidence, feeling like it's a difficult period of her life. If you're coaching women in that category, you can absolutely pop them all in a group program and create something unbelievably magical out of that. But if you're working with a man who is a CEO, a midlife woman, a school teacher, I don't know, an 18-year-old doing their school exams, I mean, like, you can't build a group program out of that. Of course you can't. Yeah. So, yeah, I hope that helps. I hope that there was quite a big answer to that question there. I hope that is some things to think about.
Thanks very much.
Julie, I'm going to come to you, and then we'll finish.
Thank you. I've just found it really interesting, Karen. So thank you to Karen and Pam for making this possible to hear this, particularly because I coach on a one-to-one level, but with leaders in businesses. My business changed a little bit over last year. So it developed into, I provide qualifications now for coaches for ILM. But what I'm thinking is that this has given me an insight into how I could then retain the coaches that qualify in my business, and how I could then do a group program from that to potentially keep that, as you say, that community environment. And what I was going to just ask really is, if the group gets too big, so I also agree with drop-ins, I can see how that works, particularly because with a cohort, I don't have that flexibility with the qualification. Everyone has to start and I have to run with the cohort number. But if the size of the group gets really big, so we're talking 40, 50, whatever, does that reduce almost people's ability or desire to self-disclose or confidence to really?
Yeah, good question. I love this question. So there's a few things that I want to share. Then my brain was like, what am I gonna pull out first? So one, I'm going to answer what I thought you were going to ask first, because I think this is part of it. What I've done as my groups have become bigger is I've dropped in extra calls. So the group isn't one massive group. So that's why every 2 weeks in Thrive, there's a call on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and you come to one or the other. And so the group isn't one massive group. If I had another 50 people join or another 20 people join, I just drop in another call time. So that's how you can scale your program, is you can grow the numbers, but just keep providing more call times as in when you need to. But actually what I find is that the support that people get is actually bigger on larger calls than smaller, because I have it every time I run a call. Someone will ask a question and then a dozen people will type in the chat box, oh my God, that was a brilliant question. I didn't think to ask that, but that's really, really helped me as well. And I always say to people, who else has this helped? Let me know if this has helped you as well, because actually I'm answering an individual's question, but really it's not just one individual's question. It's something that's relevant for nearly everyone, because they're all on a similar journey. Yes, they're building different businesses, but the frustrations are the same. So yeah, does that help you? Did that help answer your question, Julie?
Yeah, that really helps. I think what you've done is you've just opened my eyes to a lot more in terms of what I can do, obviously on a group level, but also I'm now thinking, well, sometimes, so I mentor and coach business owners, but what if there was a group business owner, or what if I did something that extended from the qualification? And I suppose I'm cheekily just going to ask a very quick other question, if that's okay.
Go for it. Yeah, of course.
With Thrive, and apologies if I've just really just not got what you've said, but with Thrive, is it just coaches that come to that, or is this open to anybody and you're the coach? Do you know what I mean? Is that for coaching? Is that just coaches or?
Yeah, well, so my niche really is I work with coaches, but I don't just work with coaches, but I talk about, like, my book is like helping remarkable coaches. So I work with a lot of coaches. I trained as a coach through the Coaching Academy in 2017, and I became a mentor for the Coaching Academy after that. And I got a lot of follows from trainee coaches coming through the Coaching Academy. So there's a lot of coaches come and work with me, but actually I can help any service-based business build a business, because the principles are the same. It's like, who is your ideal client and what is your niche and how do you build your offers and all the rest of it. So in Thrive, it's kind of marketed to coaches, but there's an architect, a dog trainer, copywriter, so it's yeah, I mean, it's not just for coaches.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I think that's it. Pam, over to you. Oh, sorry, you got your hand up. Sarah, sorry,
Sarah
I didn't
had
see
her
your
hand up.
Beg
Only
your
if you've got
pardon.
time, Karen.
Oh, no, it's fine. I'm really happy to. I want to answer all the questions, no problem at all. Hi, Sarah.
Thanks, Karen. It's been a great session. I have a group program, which I absolutely love running. But the challenge I have, and I know you're not covering launch, because I've done challenges, I've done webinars to get people into the group program. I didn't know whether you had any top tips for the actual getting people in, because I don't want to give up my group program, but it's such a slog to get people into the program. But when they're in it, their results are amazing, which is why I don't want to give it up.
Yeah. There's a really long answer on that. There's loads of things. This is like the biggest question I ever get asked is, how can I get more clients? What I will say in very short form is, look, this is for you all, by the way. There are 3 ways for you to build an audience, get more clients, 3 main ways. I mean, there's multiple ways, but I like to think of it in 3 categories. Number one, organic growth, which is posting on LinkedIn or Instagram and, you know, picking up clients and building the content and the visibility. That's number one. Number two is piggybacking off other people's audiences. So who do you know who has audiences, groups, programs, communities of your ideal client? How can you build a signature presentation from your signature framework and go in and deliver that in those communities and piggyback over other people's audiences? And you can do that very, very successfully and get more people from that than probably sometimes from your own. And then the third way is, of course, paid for traffic and running Facebook ads, running maybe even Google ads, and having a funnel essentially. And I founded a tech platform, which Pam is also in, called CoachSpace.ai. And the thing that I'm the most passionate about is actually helping people to automate and streamline and systemize their processes in their business, because it's really hard work to be doing all of this every single day. It's a drag. It's really, really hard. And really the answer is like having an evergreen funnel that works in the background in your business, that has people coming into your email list and drip feeding people onto booking discovery calls with you, and like having a seamless flow of people dropping in and doing the organic stuff and doing the piggybacking stuff as well. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. So basically, there's no easy answer. I've just got to get on and carry on doing it.
You do. I mean, it's the hardest thing for coaches, but you know, when you get the balance right, and it tips, then it's incredible. But
Yeah.
it's the hardest thing. It really is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Jackie, I'm going to come to you.
Oh,
Hi, hello.
Hi.
I'm on my really strange camera here, so I'm just going to look down here. Normally, I've got my camera up there working. So it seems like to have a coaching, a group program, it's going away from pure coaching and going more into mentoring.
I don't think that's the case, but I can see why you're asking that question.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, how do I, because I've trained, you know, we train as pure coaches, and then it seems like the whole thing to get clients and all this sort of thing and all the stuff that you're talking about sounds brilliant, but it's not pure coaching. It's more mentoring and showing and teaching and things. So what's your say on that?
Do you mind if I say that I don't agree?
Yeah, fine.
I can absolutely see why you think that, and it works. Obviously, it works really well for people like me who are like teaching and training people to achieve a result. But it also works really, really well for people who are pure coaches, because I go back to the thing that I said a few minutes ago. This is actually about your niche. So if you have a really clear niche on, this is the group that I love working with, this is the area of coaching that I'm the most interested in, within that niche, there are going to be certain areas that are of interest for your ideal clients. We'll go back to the health coach, maybe mindset, habits, nutrition, fitness. So what you could be doing on those sessions, let's say session 1 was about mindset for these menopausal women who've got no energy, who lost their purpose, who feel like they need more self-confidence. So the first coaching session is on mindset. So you have a group of women like this in a room, you're the coach, and you take them through a group coaching session that is related to mindset. So there might be a series of questions that you take them through that are helping them to go to dig into their mindset, what their barriers are when it comes to their health, why they're feeling that they've lost their self-confidence. Like you would with a single one-on-one client, but you're just doing it as a group. But all the difference is you're just turning it into a topic. It's the topic that is. So this week's topic is a mindset. Right, next time we're going to do some group coaching on fitness. Can you see how it can still be group coaching?
So then I asked the next question, which is, I kind of get that, because some common themes are coming out for my people. So then when you're coaching, you're just asking questions. You might introduce some concepts or something, and then you'll ask a question. So do you have like okay, this is a concept, ask a question, go and think about it for a few minutes, and we'll just go and think about it.
Perfect.
Do that kind of
Amazing.
thing.
Like little breakouts you could do. You could put people into groups. You could have a 90-minute coaching session, and you could say, I'm going to create some breakout sessions and I'd love you to go and do some coaching on each other. You could take them through a workbook, and you could say, this is the workbook for this topic this week. I'm going to ask the question, let's have a discussion around it. And then go and have a think about it. This is what I love about group coaching programs. It's just about doing what you're doing on one-on-one, but turn it into a group. And it can be whatever you want it to be. It's not prescriptive. And that's why I really wanted to emphasize at the beginning, this isn't about me saying there's one size fits all. It's like, however you can imagine this, you can do it.
Oh, okay, that's really useful. Thank you very much.
Great. Did that answer your question? Did that help?
Yeah, it did. It's helped. Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Good. Okay. Well, it's nice to meet you all. Thank you for coming to this session. Pam, I don't know if you want to.
Thank you, Karen. Amazing. Have you got the links for your book? Have you got them handy, or do you want to send them to me?
Let me pop it in now. Love to pop it in the chat. Thank you for asking me. I'm just going to bring it up.
What time is your session this afternoon? I'm asking because I need a reminder. And if anyone wanted to come, I'm sure you'd be welcome.
I'm running. Let me just grab the link and I'll come in because I can't multitask. I am going to bring you the link right now and pop it in the chat, and I'll tell you what I'm doing this afternoon. Pam, thank you very much for asking about it. So here is the link. It's just to a page that my team's created for the book, and you can buy the book from Amazon through that link, because we've got some prizes and things over this weekend, so that's why we've got a page for it. I'm doing a behind the scenes of my book and what the steps are of the 9 steps in the framework this afternoon at 1 o'clock UK time for 90 minutes. Got quite a lot of people coming. It's really informal. There's no slides. I'm just going to chat. So yeah, it would be great. If any of you wanted to come to that, there's another URL to register for that. Cheers.
I'm going after I've taken the dog for a walk.
I think this is the URL for it. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing you later on, Pam. It's just a really nice thing to be doing on book launch days, like to have a conversation about it as well.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you so
I
much.
better go and have some lunch. I'm in France.
Yes, you go and have some lunch. I'm going to stay around. I'm going to be around for another 10-15 minutes. So if you want to stay on and talk to me about what you've gotten out of this week and what would really help you following up from this week, because the one thing that we all know as coaches, and it doesn't mean that we get it right all the time, is it's all very well learning all this stuff, but if you don't implement it and take action, nothing is going to change. So I'm going to stay around and we can have a chat about what I can do, what we can do within the community to help you actually take what you've learned this week and do something with it. Okay?
That sounds great.
So,
I'm going to say bye to you all.
Going to go.
See you soon. Bye. Thanks.
Bye, Karen.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you so much. There we go. All right. Shall I stop the recording? I think I will, because that's Karen's session. Bye. Oh, I've lost it. Here we go.